Today, the world's fastest drivers are the Cowboys, and the bull ring awaits. What a difference a day makes. Just 24 little hours after rain washed away a kart race day for the first time in 16 years, we have blue skies, cold temperatures, and a strong breeze. But we're ready for round 4 of the FedEx Championship Series. 225 laps on the bull ring. That is Nazareth Speedway. Here's Gary Gerald.
Bob, great stories. Only 1 second separates this field, front row to last row, the top 25. And for the second event in a row, we've got teammates side by side in the front row. That's a rarity. It was Herta and Rahal at Long Beach. It's the players team this week, and it's led by the man on the pole with a new track record, Patrick Carpentier. It's his first year with his team, his second year in the circuit. He has been blistering fast. Major story, however, is the fact that Greg Moore has just arrived. Literally 30 seconds ago, this car rolled into position. They ran into a problem this morning in warm-up. They had to go to Carpentier's backup car. He has no laps in this car. He has literally been strapped in, back in the paddock, rolled into position, and they've got their fingers crossed that everything is ready. As for challengers, how about that second row, Jan Beekes?
Well, that's right, Gary. You have Firestone cars on the front row, Goodyear cars on the second row. Michael Andretti, you never want to count him out here at Nazareth. He has won twice, but there's drama here as well. Michael this morning had a turbo fire. They've had to replace the turbocharger. He did not get as much running in the warm-up as he would like. Now, to his right is Gilles de Ferran. Gilles also on Goodyear tires, as we said, and they are going to run a conservative strategy today as far as the tires go. They're concerned about the wear of the tire because all the Goodyear teams had to change their tires when Goodyear had some tire chunking problems with the primary set. So all the Goodyear teams being conservative, they may come on the pit road a bit early. Bob?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're just moments from the commands to start engines. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha with former Nazareth winner and series champion Danny Sullivan. Danny, during the rain yesterday, we heard Tom Anderson from Team Ganassi say his job as the team manager is a lot more complicated because of the rain delay. Why is that?
Well, it becomes more complicated because they got to get everybody's focus back in the next day. Everybody gets a little bit complacent. They got to get back in the groove, get the focus, and go out there and race. Now, the big thing for the drivers today, this track, if your car is working, is a fabulous place. It'll be one of the most enjoyable days of your career. If your car is not working, it'll be one of the longest days of your career.
Well, we're about to find out who's got the combination and who doesn't. Now to the famous command, let's go down to the paddock for Mr. Ben Dixon, president of Robert Bosch Corporation.
Start your engines.
Engines are fired. We're ready to go. Here's a look at the starting grid for today's race. On the pole, Patrick Carpentier, who can win $175,000 in Marlboro bonus money if he wins from his first career pole. He'll be next to his teammate Greg Moore, and you know about his problems. On row 2, Michael Andretti. 2 of his 37 career wins have come here at his hometown track. Next to him, Gilles de Ferran. Only he and Greg Moore have led all 3 races this year. Row 3 will be Jimmy Vasser. His best Nazareth finish came last year when he finished 5th. For next to him is Christian Fittipaldi, the fastest driver in the morning warm-up. On row 4, Brian Herta. His first podium of the year came 3 weeks ago at Long Beach, where he was 3rd. He's next to Alex Zanardi, who passed Herta on the closing laps to take his 9th career win. On row 5, Bobby Rahal, making his 250th start at the site of his last win back in 1992. Paul Tracy is next to him, a 2-time Nazareth winner. On row 6, Adrian Fernandez, who won the most recent oval race in Japan. Next to him is his Patrick Racing teammate Scott Pruitt, debuting new colors for his sponsor Visteon. On row 7, Richie Hearn, who matched his grid position in the morning warm-up, number 13. Next to him, Mauricio Gugelmin, 4th fastest in the warm-up. Row 8, J.J. Leto, the quickest of 5 rookie qualifiers in the field. Next to him, Tony Kanaan, the rookie points leader, who has 2 top 6 finishes this year. Row 9, Dario Franchitti, whose best career finish came at Long Beach, where he was on the podium at 2nd. He'll be alongside Al Unser Jr., who couldn't get his 98 Penske combination up to speed. He's in a 97 chassis, the same type that won this race last year. Row 10, Helio Castroneves, quickest on Friday before Goodyear withdrew their primary tire, as Jan explained. Max Pappas' next win equaling the best starting position for a Toyota car this year. Row 11, Mark Blundell, the Pac West team running their full 98 combination for the first time this year. Next to him is Dennis Patolo, making a return from injury suffered in spring training. On row 12, Michel Jourdain Jr., the only driver who has failed to finish all 3 races this year. Robbie Gordon alongside, returning to the series for the Arciero Wells team. Row 13, P.J. Jones, the only Toyota car from Dan Gurney's team in today's field. Next to him is Arne Meyer, the only Lola, but it's been running in the finish of all 3 races thus far this year. Down to Gary Gerald.
Bob, there's been great concern about the unseasonably cool temperatures, and when we scraped ice off the windshield this morning, we knew exactly what these drivers were thinking. But it's amazing. In the last 2 hours with this sun, track temperatures coming up. In the warm-up, the track temperature was 56 degrees. Right now, reading moments ago, 78 degrees. That sounds good, but it's still very, very cool by normal standards. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, people have always talked about Nazareth being a 1-mile racetrack. They have changed the length of the racetrack as far as how they calculate speed. Now it is .946. Well, you may remember that the way they get the fuel into these fuel tanks is they do it on the measurement of the racetrack. So will they have less fuel? No, that's because last year they still gave them fuel for that .946. Everyone has the exact same amount of fuel for the 225 laps that they had last year. It should be 2 stops at least here on pit road. Bob?
All right, thanks, gentlemen. Here's a look at our race analysis. The mile oval measures just under that at .946 of a mile. As a result, 225 laps gives us a race distance, 212.85 miles. The pole sitter at record speed, Patrick Carpentier, 0.2 of a second quicker than anyone else. Our pit window, as mentioned, 70 to 77 laps in. Stories we'll be following today. A green racetrack. That means that inch of rain we had yesterday washed off all the rubber that was built up. It's almost like a street course now in that the track is likely to get quicker and quicker as the rubber is laid down. Traffic, always a problem at a bull ring. And a question is tire durability. Rubber has been a question all weekend, never more so than on this green racetrack. On board with Michael Andretti. You know about his mechanical problems this morning. There is Jimmy Vasser, who has not had a lot of luck on this track, along with his team.
Okay, Bob, we're going green.
There is Bobby Rahal.
Fuel position 3. And we'll go down to 6 from there, or as lean as you can go.
Bobby receiving instructions from his team. Fuel position 3. There is Gilles de Ferran.
Bob, one thing they really have to worry about is that it is a green racetrack. It is also cold, even though it's up to 74 degrees, whatever the temperature is. They've got to get temperature in these tires. They've got to be a little cautious at the beginning of this race. You can get this car sideways and collect another car and have a big accident.
26 cars strong, about 900 horsepower per car. The car can get away from you in a hurry as they begin to come up to speed. The Forsythe Racing teammates across the front row. Carpentier takes the lead. We are underway. 225 laps ahead. And instantly, Carpentier opens up a few quick car lengths over Greg Moore, challenged around the outside by Michael Andretti. Into second place goes Michael Andretti, but we have problems on the backstretch. Adrian Fernandez has nosed it into the inside wall.
I can't really tell whether he's got major contact there, but he's obviously spun it down there. Whether he's even made contact at all, it's difficult to tell. As you can see over in this corner right there, it's very difficult to see how bad the car, if any, is damaged.
Let's take another look at what happened to Adrian Fernandez.
Let's not forget cold tires.
And he did nose the nose of the car.
Yeah, right there. He's obviously damaged the car enough.
And so the yellow flag is out for the first time today. As the kart safety team responds. Now let's take another look from overhead.
Oh, you can see him right there. He's already sideways. See the back end of the car going in that direction. And he's trying to gather it up. He just keeps going. Nice lazy spin on the brakes. See all the smoke, everybody bunched up there. See this car there had to back off from getting squeezed by the other 2 cars.
There is his new wife, Tanya, watching from the Patrick Racing pits. Not a great start to the day for Adrian Fernandez, but the damage did not look too bad to the nose. They may be able to get it fixed. There's our running order after 2 of 225 long laps. ESPN Speed World coverage of the CART Nazareth 200 is being brought to you by Eagle One A to Z Wheel Cleaner. Spray on, hose off, towel dry. Easy as 1, 2, 3. And by Goodyear, innovators of run flat technology. On board with Michael Andretti at Nazareth Speedway. The caution came out on the first lap, but not before Michael Andretti was able to gain a position.
Bobby makes a great move here, one of his favorite spots. Turn 2, right around the outside of Greg. Can't quite get it. Look at Greg move over, doesn't expect him to be there.
Now down to Gary Gerald.
Steve Newey on the radio to Adrian Fernandez. Do you know what happened, or does he know?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a case of tires that were too cold on a cold day, and he was down low out of the groove a little bit, pinched it, and a little bit too hard on the gas, and it just got away from him.
All right, thank you. We're getting ready to go green again.
Now, during that yellow flag, Dennis Patolo, back in the SmithKline Beecham car for Peyton Coyne Racing, also spun at the same place. The CART safety team responded, but Patolo is now 3 laps down. As we prepare to go green, as somebody else is getting off the track and onto the grass. As the green flag comes out, we are back to racing. Carpentier, Andretti, Moore, Christian
Look at
Fittipaldi.
this, the same move, right around the outside of Patrick Carpentier. Just smoked him right around the outside.
Now, Danny, we've been talking about cold tires, taking it easy in the early moments. Michael Andretti is having none of that line of argument.
No, his are coming up to temperature. The Andrettis have always been great at the start or restart of a race, getting the temperature in their tires and having to go right away.
There's Jimmy Vasser shown in 5th place.
Guys, also don't forget that when Michael Andretti had that turbo fire, he has not had much practice in traffic, but he's run here for 10 years. I think he doesn't need a whole lot.
Oh, that's true. He has won twice at this track as Michael Andretti, 1987 and in 1996. Has a couple of poles here as well. As you watch Jimmy Vasser, the running order is Andretti, Carpentier, Moore, DeFerrin, Vasser, Zanardi, Paul Tracy, Brian Herta, Bobby Rahal, and Scott Pruitt rounding out the top 10. Then Mauricio Gugelmin, Tony Kanaan, Max Pappas, J.J. Leto, Richie Hearn, Robbie Gordon, who picked up 7 spots on the opening lap, and Al Unser Jr. runs in 17th. P.J. Jones, Mark Blundell, Dario Franchitti. And we have a yellow flag from the flag stand. And once again, Dennis Patolo has spun. This time he's done some damage fore and aft.
And that's coming up out of turn 3 and 4 onto the start-finish straightaway. You can see the flagger up there in the corner, top of your screen.
So Patolo is parked at one of the timing lines in front of a large crowd for a Monday here at Nazareth. Let's take another look now at racing speed.
They come down into the slowest part of the track right there. There's a little dip there. He just loses control of the car. He just got in there, got the car a little bit too loose. Probably the tires were a little cold there and got on the throttle. Spun it around, backed it into the outside wall.
Now, speaking of spins, let's get down to Gary Gerald with Adrian Fernandez.
Adrian, you're back here now. Is this a case of cold tires?
No, the tires were good. It just, for some reason, we had the car too loose, and as soon as I started putting the power, the car went, went loose. I felt it coming into one, and I didn't have the time enough to move my bars inside the car, and I started rolling into the throttle very, smoothly, and it just cashed me out and just spun out.
How much does this hurt you as you came in as the season points leader?
Oh, obviously it hurts. But, we didn't think we were going to be that strong, but we were thinking that, trying to get us the best finish we could and try to, be smart on the race. And, we did the best I could. And, unfortunately, this is a race that didn't help us. But, it's a long season, and hopefully we will catch up.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
That's Adrian Fernandez. Apparently his car will not be fixed And with the points leader out, as Gary mentioned, this opens the door for a number of other drivers. Greg Moore comes into this race in second place, just 4 behind our race leader. There you see all the men with a shot. Michael Andretti down there 5th in points. Would love to take a big jump here today. Dennis Patolo is out of his car. We'll be back. Back at Nazareth Speedway, 2 cars already out of the race, and Christian Fittipaldi fell way back in the field following this incident.
Well, you can see he's coming down the back straightaway. The entrance to the pits are right there. And right here, he tries to get on the gas a little bit too early to jump off of 3 and 4. Goes up the pit lane, doesn't spin, back on the grass, through the grass, out onto the track. Look at all those positions he's losing. He started 6th, dropped all the way back to 22nd, and has moved up to 20th spot.
Down to Jan Bikus.
Another guy that had problems with cold tires is Dennis Patolo. It's got away from you twice. Is it the temperatures that's causing the problems?
I really don't think so. This morning, the car was very good in the warm-up, and it was cooler. We had understeer, and then we were coming back up to that restart. It spun, and then it just snapped away from me. I'm not really sure. We may have lost a shock, or maybe that tire went down. I'm not sure. We have to look.
Okay, let's get back to green flag racing. Thank you.
Of the 26 starters, 24 still in the race as you watch Michael Andretti leading away. Green flag on lap 21 of 225. There are the 2 Team Ganassi teammates, Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi. Looking back at the winner of the Long Beach race 3 weeks ago with a brilliant drive from a lap down. Alex Zanardi at his best, lapped the field and then passed first Dario Franchitti and then race leader Brian Herta with a lap to go en route to his 9th career victory. The green and white car behind Zanardi is Paul Tracy, a 2-time race winner here. Last year, he snapped a long 20-race winless drought for Penske Racing. This year, he is with Team Cool Green. A disappointing qualifying performance yesterday for Paul Tracy. He was very quick in testing at this racetrack. There's a look at the Canadian. There's a look from our Honda Helicam. That's Max Pappas in the darker car being lapped.
He had to go into the pits for a stop-and-go infringement for passing too soon on the restart, so he had to do a drive-through. That's why he's coming out of the pits, and he got passed by those boys.
2 red Target cars from overhead. Pappas now shown 24th, 2 laps down. The last car in the running order. Bobby Gordon is on the move up to 14th now.
And Bob, in regards to Robbie Gordon, even before the start of the race, the crew was on the radio reminding him what to do when the pits are closed as far as the lead cars and the cars that are down a lap. So he hasn't driven for a while. They're reminding him each step of the way exactly what the rules are so he can make the right decision.
Let's catch up with Robbie Gordon now. In for Hiro Matsushita, who will race our next round of the Rio 400. There's Robbie, center of your screen, running the same Panasonic and Duskin colors that Matsushita does. Matsushita, as I mentioned, will be back for our next race in Rio, and then the Japanese driver will step out, and Robbie Gordon will finish out the year with Arciero Wells. He's got Richie Hearn in the bright red Budweiser car from Della Penna Racing behind him. Slow-moving Arndt Meyer, that yellow car, being passed by the field, and you get an idea of just how tight it is here at Nazareth. On board with Richie Hearn, looking up ahead at Robbie Gordon, running 14th and 15th. Watch those walls loom right up on the driver's right.
That's turn 2, a little bumpy through there. Now they'll come down the straightaway. Watch it drop away. A little break, drops down there, then back up on the power. That's the slowest part of the track. Then what they call turn 1, which is wide open through here. Back entering turn 2.
Pretty gentle, uneventful steering input there for Richie Hearn. The car appears to be working pretty well for him. There is Gordon now pulling up on J.J. Leto, running in 13th place. Ahead of Leto is Tony Kanaan. So the 2 rookies just ahead of Robbie Gordon. On board with race leader Michael Andretti, with clear track ahead of him, and 31 laps complete. Now be sure to join us here on ESPN Saturday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as Don Johnson hosts NASCAR's Night in Hollywood, a golden celebration. An impressive list of Hollywood celebrities will join the NASCAR family and musical acts representing all 5 decades of NASCAR's 50th anniversary celebration, Saturday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Here comes the fabled Nazareth traffic just ahead of the race leader, Michael Andretti.
And here's where you find out how good somebody's car is really working. Michael appears to be, but he's out in front. Now he's going to get into traffic, see if he can keep making those passes around the outside, which he likes so much in turn 2.
Bob, a moment ago, you saw Ard Meyer slow on the racetrack. He's back on pit road with gearbox problems.
All right, thank you, Jan.
And what we've also seen there is Michael shifting in 3 and 4, a little downshift so he can pull off of the corner. His hand goes down there on the left-hand side. That was to adjust a roll bar. The right-hand side is a gear shift. Took it down. We'll see him go back up right here. See his right hand drop down.
Keep in mind, this is 9/10 of a mile around, 3 turns, constant activity, and the driver spends a lot of time with one hand on that steering wheel. Amazing stuff. We'll be back. Just 35 laps complete here at Nazareth. Stay with us. Spotlight of the day here at Nazareth features Robbie Gordon making his return to Nazareth this morning. 3rd quick in the morning warm-up in his Toyota-powered car. At the start, he was back in 24th on the next-to-last row. Passed Al Unser Jr. for 16th place, and just a couple of laps later went around the red machine of Richie Hearn into 14th. Things are working well for Robbie Gordon today. On board with race leader Michael Andretti. Patrick Carpentier always seems to be able to get close to the race leader in traffic. There is Gilles de Ferran in the Valvoline car for Derek Walker. A man who is always a threat to win at every race we go to, and yet has never led the points. Michel Jourdain on the left.
Oh, he had to lift that big time there.
Oh, and he's taken.
He had to lift there, and they get a run on him. He said he had understeering traffic, which means he probably needs a little bit more downforce on the front, because when he gets up underneath the other car, the air gets disturbed and taken away. He loses front downforce.
That was Alex Zanardi going by de Ferran into 5th place. Check that, Jimmy Vasser moving by de Ferran. Let's pick up another battle. 2nd and 3rd, the 2 players' cars, Greg Moore, Patrick Carpentier, and Jimmy Vasser. The cars running just ahead of Gilles de Ferran. We're talking about gaps between cars at this point is pretty irrelevant. Nobody gets very far away from anybody else here.
And what we've seen with the grid so packed together in qualifying, everybody was working on the race setup. We're looking at the times right here in the booth, and we can see that everybody's lapping about the same time, so it makes it very difficult to pass anybody, and everybody's car seems to be working very well in traffic.
Danny, one of those who's struggling, as you might well anticipate, a rookie driver, Tony Kanaan, who's had a couple of very impressive finishes already this year, but at mid-pack, they keep tinkering with the weight jacker, trying to get that balance just right. And as you said when we started the day, if you don't have a good handling race car at this place, it can be one of the longest days of your driving career.
Checking fast laps thus far, and look at Greg Moore. Right now, he is pinned behind that slower car of Dario Franchitti just ahead of him. Patrick Carpentier, Moore's teammate, with the 4th quickest lap to date. And then Michael Andretti, the race leader. Now Jimmy Vasser pulls up behind Carpentier. Danny, you and I spoke yesterday about what it's like at the start of a race on a bull ring like this. You want your car not to be neutral. You don't even want it handling all that great at the beginning of the race, because you know during the full tank run on the tires, the car is going to change a lot.
That's right. If you start with the car neutral or even loose, it's going to be a long day. You have to have a little bit of understeer in it. That means the front end pushing just a little bit, not working quite as well as the rear, because as the tires go off, the rear tires go off first, and your car comes to be more neutral.
On board with Vassar, attacking Patrick Carpentier for third place.
And guys, the reason Carpentier is dropping back is he also is having understeer when he gets in traffic. So next pit stop, they're going to put more front wing. Right now, they're telling him, just hang on, buddy.
That's about all you can do when you're in that situation. You got to wait till a first yellow or another yellow or a pit stop, and then try to fine-tune the car. He's not losing a lot of ground, and if they can get it working how it did in qualifying, he'll be awful strong.
Look from high overhead gives you a good feel for the shape of this racetrack. Three very different corners, which makes setup a compromise at each.
Coming off the turns 3 and 4 there, up along the front straightaway, under the starter stand, through turn 1, little short shoot, right into turn 2, the quickest corner. A lot of G-force in there. Down the back straightaway, here's where they all try to pass. A little bit of braking, going into 3, dip, back climbing up out of that little hole to the starter stand.
A lot of elevation change at this racetrack for 9/10 of a mile oval. The backstretch in particular climbs and then dips down into the turns 3 and 4. Watching Vassar, Target Team Ganassi Racing has not had a lot of success here. Vassar's best performance is a 5th. His teammate Alex Zanardi's best is an 11th. Chip Ganassi is a principal in a new track that will be hosting the Kart FedEx Championship Series beginning next fall in 1999. The new Chicago Speedway at Sportsman's Park. A great new addition to the series. But when Vassar and Zanardi found out their boss was building a short track, they said, "Are you crazy? Make it a road circuit." Let's check Robbie Gordon. Still in 14th place, running behind J.J. Leto. The order up front is Andretti, Moore, Carpentier, Vassar, DeFerrin, Zanardi, Paul Tracy, Bobby Rahal, Brian Herta, Scott Pruitt in 10th. Then Mauricio Gugelmin in the 98. Pac West, Reynard Mercedes, Tony Kanaan in 12th. J.J. Leto, then Gordon. Richie Hearn is 15th, P.J. Jones 16th, and Christian Fittipaldi has worked his way up to 17th after an off and on during one of our yellow flag restarts. Here's a look at where we are with 57 laps complete, and they're ticking away at about 20 seconds per. We'll be right back. Back at Nazareth Speedway, you ride with Gilles DeFerrin running in 5th place, just ahead of Alex Zanardi. Notice on Gilles' helmet, you see a stripe that includes the colors of the Brazilian flag. Gilles has added that in support of his national soccer team as they prepare for the World Cup tournament in 1998 in France. That's Jimmy Vassar, Zanardi's teammate, taking a look at the back of Patrick Carpentier for 3rd place. Now, not a lot of passing going on right now, no position swaps, and that's because everybody is running similar race laps. Everybody between 20.4 and 20.7, basically.
There goes Jimmy, though. Jimmy got underneath Patrick Carpentier. He's been setting him up, trying to make it in that spot. Got a run off of turn 2. Dove underneath him going into turn 3. And now this is Gilles DeFerrin, who's moved up right behind Patrick Carpentier.
And guys, the Target team has been working all weekend in setting up their cars that'll be good in the race. They've tried to stay away from the temptation of going for a qualifying setup, so they expect their cars to get better as the day goes on.
Moments ago, we told you about we got a problem. We have a yellow flag, and we have a crash down in turns 3 and 4. It's the Alumax machine. Elio Castro Neves, coming off a terrific drive at Long Beach 3 weeks ago, has found the wall. Looks like he backed it in.
It's fairly early in the corner, so I would suspect he had a problem going in, possibly under braking.
Once again, the NASCAR safety team putting in some mileage here at Nazareth Speedway. A one-car accident.
They started off so strong.
Safety team.
They started off so strong this weekend, the Alumex car. Tony Bettenhausen, they were quickest the first day. Really looking strong.
I saw a crash. I thought of Talladega. They had a whopper yesterday.
Go ahead and reset your weight jacker. Yeah, that's 4. I didn't move it.
.65 laps complete. The pits are closed for the moment. When they open, we expect a rash of pit stops. And now the sign goes up.
Michael, pit this lap.
Ed Nathman informing Michael Andretti, and in he will come. Everybody lined up behind Michael Andretti, anxious for service. Trammell from Indianapolis, Indiana, driving the Toyota safety car. Michael heads for the pits. Looks like Mark Blundell will stay out.
Now what you see here is the pace car is just in front of Michael, just outside of your screen there. See the pace car. Michael cannot pass that pace car. And it gets very tricky until this line right there. Then he can accelerate up to 60 miles an hour in the pit lane.
Blundell is a lapped car. Only the lead lap cars pitting at the moment. There's Greg Moore.
Hey guys, Greg Moore got here first because these cars fit in. They're going to put some front wing into this car and watch them take the tape off the left front because it's running a little bit too hot. There he goes. He'll off the tape. Greg Moore has a little trouble.
Andretti now rolling, and Andretti gets out ahead of him. They were separated by a wide distance on pit road. No problems for Michael routine service.
And you saw who jumped out there. It was Gilles de Ferran, came out of that pit second.
And Gilles de Ferran came out second and sideways. He was trying to get up to speed. And once again, a moment ago, we told you about NASCAR's Golden Anniversary celebration in California. That is the scene of the Winston Cup California 500 presented by Napa. Coming your way Sunday, May 3rd, from the California Speedway in Fontana, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific on ESPN. We are under yellow. The record is 10 cautions for 76 laps. We'll be back with more from Nazareth in a moment. Back at Nazareth Speedway, just moments from a green flag, but let's get caught up to date on those pit stops, beginning with Jan Bikus.
Well, there's a scary moment for Mark Blundell. The vent man, Tim Douthit, was trying to get the vent hose disconnected. It hung up, and he got run over by Mark Blundell. You can see that he is conscious. He is okay. He has a big tire. That's a good smile there, thankfully. It was a very scary moment, but look at that tire mark. Wow. That is a good testament that Blundell did not obviously gas it too much. Gary?
Well, cleanup continues down in Scott Pruitt's pit, and his luck continues to run very bad. There was an engine fire, a little tiny O-ring, and the seal of the fueling nozzle malfunction actually broke. It resulted in fuel spillage as Scott pulled away. It did ignite, so he took one lap around the mile oval, came back, they got the fire out. They tried to refire the engine, no success. Scott Pruitt, first of all, you're all right?
Yeah, it got pretty hot in there. We had a pretty good flame going. The fuel was just pouring out of the back of the car, and you know, fortunately we made it back here. The guys were on top of it, but it's just tough for the Visteon team. I mean, every week we just seem to be having just some strange bad occurrences, but you know, we'll come back at Rio and hopefully turn our luck around.
I guess the only saving grace is it is still early in the season. You're using up an awful lot of bad luck in these last couple of events.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just really disappointing. I mean, we had a pretty good car out there today, and you know, I thought we could run to the front with it, but we'll never find out.
Thank you, Scott. Bob?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Now, there is Jimmy Vasser. We'll take a look at his pit stop.
Seems like he gets in good and clean.
J.J. Leto pitting up ahead.
Oh, he stalls it. He stalls it. They have to push him back in the pit box. They have to get a starter motor.
as a result of all the pit stop action, let's take a look at who won and who lost. There you see Michael Andretti came in first, went back out first. Greg Moore dropped a position. Jimmy Vasser dropped from 3rd all the way back to 11th. Among those who gained positions, Gilles de Ferran went 5th to 2nd. Paul Tracy 7th to 4th. Robbie Gordon 14th to 10th place. Bobby Rahal 8th to 6th. And Tony Kanaan 12th to 9th. Now, those that lost positions included Alex Zanardi, who dropped 1 from 6th to 7th. Jimmy Vasser from 3rd. We said 11th there. He actually dropped to 12th place as they prepare for the green flag. And Mauricio Gugelmin lost 3 spots, 11th to 14th. Now take a look at the pit ahead of Jimmy Vasser as J.J. Leto heads for his Hogan Racing pits. Look how close he is to Jimmy Vasser's crewman. In fact, that tango was too close for comfort. Down to Jan Bikas.
Well, his name is Grant Weaver, and he did get clipped by Leto, but thankfully he is okay. So a pretty couple scary moments down here on pit road, but thankfully these guys want to go back to doing more pit stops. That's amazing. These guys keep looking, and they just want to keep on ticking, guys.
Bob, this just goes to show how tight it is, how the pit work is so important, how critical, and how close it is in those pit boxes to this action. Everybody's pulling in there. We say 60 miles an hour slow in the pit lane, but look how fast it really is.
Kudos to all of those pit lane guys who jump out there. The Indy Light Series is racing here at Nazareth, and you can see it Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2. We expect green this time around. 3 cars officially out of the race, each of them single car incidents that resulted in crash damage. We have 3 caution flags for a total of 30 laps thus far. The record, as I mentioned before the break, 10 cautions for 76 laps total. That was set a year ago. Not a great day for Patrick Racing as we ride with Bobby Rahal. Green flag, and we are back underway. Michael Andretti leading Gilles de Ferran, Greg Moore, Paul Tracy, Patrick Carpentier, Bobby Rahal, Alex Zanardi, Brian Herta, Tony Kanaan, and in 10th place, Robbie Gordon, his highest position of the race thus far. And watch Greg Moore and Paul Tracy dicing for 3rd. Once again, everyone with full tanks and newly scuffed tires, but they'll have to be careful. As you can see, the track is in full sunshine. In the grandstands where there's some shade, it is quite cold. I would guess in the mid to low 40s. Out on the racetrack, probably a good bit warmer than that now that we have full sun.
Sorry, Gary, go ahead.
You were mentioning that tire situation. We were checking with Steve Orlando of Goodyear. You chronicled the story of how they went to a second tire selection after the chunking problem in practice. Their concern is long-distance wear. The first set that came off Michael Andretti's car, they were very satisfied with. But drivers have reported to their crews that as they get further on, the car develops more of a push. So one of the keys, they're hoping for an occasional yellow to get fresh tires.
Yellow flag is out. Dario Franchitti has tagged something. The left rear flat. Rear wing is gone and damage to the side pod.
He did a very professional, smart thing there. He drove it across the track, got it down in a nice, safe area, offline.
So the young Scot climbs out. His first year with Team Green with his new teammate, Paul Tracy. The Reynard Honda Firestone combination. And once again, the kart safety team responds. We'll take this opportunity for a break, our 4th caution of the day. We'll be back with more from Nazareth Speedway in a moment. Welcome back to Nazareth. Our second Toyota Spotlight of the day. Scary moments in the pits. During Mark Blundell's pit stop, watch his fueler, Tim Douthlet. Trouble getting the fuel hose disconnected. He fell on the rear tire, and when one of those sticky rubber tires is spinning, that can be dangerous. Scott Pruitt, as we heard, caught fire, left and took a lap of the track. When he came back, the pit lane was ready. Water everywhere. That's what you use to fight a methanol fire. Now let's get down to Jan Bikas with more on the pit stories.
Yes, and Helio Castro Neves and Dario Franchitti are out of the medical center. First of all, Helio, I understand that you were trying to get your lap back from Michael, and then what happened there?
Yes, my car was doing pretty good. I mean, I just left Michael pass. He was the leader. I mean, no way to block. But my car was starting to improve each lap, and I tried to pass him on the end of the straight. And, I mean, race competitive. I mean, I just tried to pass. He blocked a little bit. I understand, I think. And I lost downforce on the brake point, and I spun.
Now, that's the second time you and Michael have got together. You going to go talk with him after?
Well, I think, well, we better talk, but just race.
All right, well, let's talk to Dario Franchitti, another, maybe one of this just racing incidents. You came across here with no rear wing. What happened to you?
Yeah, I got a little bit sideways on the brakes. It was getting kind of crowded on the inside going into turn 3, and I just lost the back a little bit on the brakes. Tried to catch it back. I was hard on the power. The rear wheels were spinning, but just kept backing in towards the wall, and so I hit pretty hard. It was a shame. I don't think, I mean, we struggled a bit with the car today. We weren't really on the pace at all. We lost the lap very early on. It was going to be a long day out there, but I'd prefer to finish the race to this any day.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Tough break for two drivers who had great runs at Long Beach. Castroneves had a taste of the lead for a while before finishing in 9th place, as you watch Al Unser Jr. coming out after a very late pit stop.
And I'm not so sure that he and J.J. Leto did the same thing. I'm not so sure that's a Penske strategy to get a full tank of fuel, the last possible car out, maybe get in a different fuel window than some of the others.
Our first look at Al Unser Jr. He could not get the 98 Penske Mercedes combination up to speed as we restart on lap 93. And so Al Unser Jr. stepped into the only 97 Penske in this country at this time. The other one's over in England at the Penske shops in Poole. And he put it solidly in the field. His teammate Andre Rivero not so lucky with the other 98 Penske. On board now with Jimmy Vasser. Running from 9th place, attacking Bobby Rahal. And driving by. After that pit problem that dropped him back to 12th, he's got top ground to make up, and he appears to be doing it. J.J. Leto coming back onto the track after his late pit stop. And doing it after the race turned green. That will cost him. With Brian Herta running just ahead of Vasser. 7th and 8th. Just come out onto the racetrack. He's going back in for a drive-through penalty for clipping one of Jimmy Vasser's crewmen, as we saw on the video of Vasser's long pit stop. Leto has now completed the drive-through and is headed for the pit exit. Vasser going very well, closing up on Herta. Check lap speeds at the line, see who is running the fastest. Michael Andretti, no surprise there, but look at the gap he has over the second quickest car, Patrick Carpentier, more than 2 miles an hour. Now a lot of that could be affected by traffic, so we'll check it again when they come around again. Andretti another 170 mile an hour lap. Greg Moore about a mile an hour behind. Paul Tracy third fastest.
I think that comes down to Michael's car is just handling better than everybody else, and so he's posting a fast time.
Bob, a quick update on J.J. Leto. He radioed the crew after that drive-through. Remember, it's a 60-mile-per-hour limited. He has concerns that his pit limiter is not working properly. That could come into play later on. He's hoping he's penalty-free after that drive-through.
Checking speeds at the line one more time. Michael Andretti, Gilles de Ferran, actually Greg Moore second. Andretti lost a couple of ticks that time around. De Ferran fastest. And Greg Moore third fastest. An even 100 laps complete of 225 scheduled. Reached the halfway mark at 113. But no chance that after being rained out on Sunday, that this Nazareth race will stop anything short of full distance. From the Honda Helican, Michael Andretti has been a rocket since this race began. Remember last year he ran Paul Tracy right to the checkered flag, and the race ended under caution. Otherwise Michael Andretti might have notched his third win on his home track here at Nazareth. 4 generations of the Andrettis were on hand this weekend to have their pictures taken on Saturday. And a lot of fans went home with a treat. We'll be back. Back at Nazareth Speedway, you ride with 1996 FedEx Series champion Jimmy Vasser just ahead of him. The black and white machine of Brian Herta, running 7th and 8th here at Nazareth. 4th round of the FedEx Championship Series for 1998. Our next stop, a week from next Sunday, will be the Rio 400 from the Emerson Fittipaldi Speedway in Rio de Janeiro. At the bottom of your screen, you see the running order. Look for your favorite driver. Robbie Gordon up to 11th spot. 10th is the highest he has run in this race in that Toyota-powered machine for Archiero Wells Racing. There is Gilles de Ferran running in 2nd, Greg Moore in 3rd. One of our stories coming into this race were the tires. Goodyear was forced to withdraw their primary compounded construction for this race, which meant that all of the Goodyear teams had to go to the backup tire. Right now, Goodyear cars are running 1st and 2nd. Michael Andretti and the man you ride with, Gilles de Ferran.
But look at that. Gilles de Ferran is stuck there behind Al Unser Jr. and Max Pappas in the MCI car. He can't get by him, and he's got Greg Moore right behind him and Paul Tracy. He's got to find a way around those cars.
Oh, Mark Blundell has found the wall in a big way. The Pac West team, after starting the year with their 97 Reynard Mercedes combinations, have finally gone to their full 98 setup. The race is obviously over for Mark Blundell. The Englishman has done damage to all 4 quarters of the car.
You can see right there, it looks like a drive shaft from this side of the car laying up there in the track.
Our 5th yellow flag of the day. You see that debris out there. This will take a bit of a cleanup.
And see the driver, see Michael Andretti going very slowly there. One, they don't want to go by the accident too fast, but they're also picking their way through the debris because they don't want to pick up any bits that could puncture a tire, even if they're going to make a pit stop.
Pits are closed.
But I think probably have to let it go. We pit or what? They're still closed. Everything's still closed. When they open, we will pit, okay? Yeah, I guess. We're going to be in trouble now.
Michael Andretti thinks he's in trouble if he pits now. And now you see the green sign with the
Well, the
plus
question
going up.
is they've just refueled, they put tires on, everything like that. He doesn't want to.
Is Michael worried about being out of sequence now?
It could be that he has to make one additional stop there. Sorry to go quiet, but we wanted to catch what Michael was saying.
And Danny, they've just made a quick change on the right rear tire pressure that's been laid out. They pulled it back. Peter Gibbons came racing over. The tire man grabbed the gauge. They made a quick change on tire pressure. Now they await Andretti with the pits open. We'll see if he comes in.
Michael Andretti has gone 44 laps since his last pit stop, about 2/3 of the distance they wanted to go on fuel and tires.
Water on the exit, Michael. Watch when you leave the pit. There'll be
Gilles de
water in
Ferran,
front of you.
Greg Moore, Paul Tracy, Patrick Carpentier, and Alex Zanardi all pit with Michael Andretti.
And you heard his Ed Nathman telling him there'll be water when you leave the pits. Don't want to stand on tube. That's from Scott Pruitt's fire. You don't want to get it
The fuel,
sideways.
Michael. Reset the fuel. Watch it. Tires are done.
Got him rolling in just a fraction under 10 seconds. Terrific stop for the Newman Haas team.
And down on the other end, Gary, Alex Zanardi beat out Greg Moore. So a very fast stop for Target, and they made up a spot right here on pit road as we pit and see them right together. And here, it looks like Carpentier has stalled. Patrick Carpentier has stalled leaving the pits. They're now going to have to push his car back. Oh, our pole sitter is going to lose a lot of valuable time.
And keep in mind, Patrick Carpentier was running for a record $165,000 in bonus money if he could win this race. Part of the rollover bonus program for Marlboro. Michelle Jordan Jourdain heads for the pits as Carpentier finally comes out after a very, very lengthy stop. This action taking place at the halfway point in the race. Patrick Carpentier, in fact, lost a lap.
There, Bob. We'll have to get it back. Yeah.
Bobby Rahal checking with his team. Be sure to check out RPM tonight, weeknights at 7 p.m. for all the news of the day in racing. It's been a big weekend. It'll be a busy show tonight on ESPN2, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 Pacific, only on The Deuce.
Bob, you heard what they said on the radio to Michael. Reset your fuel. That means reset your fuel gauge so it counts down and they know how much fuel he uses now.
And if you saw the race from Motegi, Japan, you know what can happen when you're not sure where you are on fuel usage. Michael ran out. We'll be back. ESPN Speed World coverage of the CART Nazareth 200 is being brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of CART. Hey, race fans, this Bud's for you. And by A1, a marinade, a seasoning, a 136-year-old secret. Back at Nazareth on a cold and breezy day, an analysis of the lat pit stop. Michael Andretti came in first, went out fourth. Gilles de Ferran out fifth. Greg Moore out seventh. But keep in mind, the top 3 cars in the running order right now, Brian Herta, Jimmy Vasser, and Robbie Gordon, did not stop. Alex Zanardi gained 3 positions. Paul Tracy lost 1. Now checking the top 3 cars, the 3 guys that did not pit, as you see, they will approach their fuel window 70 laps from their previous stop. And we'll see how it plays out for Andretti and de Ferran behind. Now, if you're a race fan, you know that drivers are very particular about their headgear. The helmets represent drivers and their personalities. But did you ever wonder where the artwork on the helmets came from? Not far from Long Beach, Corona, California is the home of Troy Lee Designs. If you've never heard of Troy Lee, but you're a race fan, you've certainly seen his work. Although his company produces clothing and other items, Troy Lee is best known as the world's leading creator of custom helmet paint designs. Some 24 employees prepare the basic shells, but eventually they wind up in the hands of the boss himself. Troy Lee has been an artist all his life, and requests for his unique touch come from racers across the world. From Jean Alesi in Formula One, Supercross star Jeremy McGrath, Ricky Rudd in Winston Cup, plus jet skiers, mountain bikers, and alpine ski racers. The company offices also house a museum of Troy's work from the very beginning, more than 20 years ago. Among the Champ Car drivers sporting his handiwork are Greg Moore, Jimmy Vasser, and Paul Tracy. These days you can spot Troy Lee Designs on racing grids across the world, each one different, reflecting the style of its owner and its painter. We ride with Troy Lee customer Jimmy Vasser. Incidentally, I mentioned Jeremy McGrath. Congratulations to McGrath on his 5th AMA Supercross championship, clinched on ABC Sports yesterday. Here's a look at our race recap. With 120 in the books, we're into the second half of the race. The leader is Brian Herta, who did not stop at the last opportunity. You see the green race average speed of 163.5 miles an hour. 3 leaders, 2 lead changes, 5 cautions for a total of 53. Remember, the record is 10 for 76. Cars out of the race. P.J. Jones, Mark Blundell, who crashed. Dario Franchitti found the concrete. Scott Pruitt, a fire. Elio Castroneves crashed. Arndt Meyer with a transmission difficulty. Dennis Vitolo and Adrian Fernandez also both crashed. Down to Jan Bikas.
Well, speaking of Jimmy Vasser, the Ganassi team taking 2 different strategies. Zanardi came in and pitted and picked up spots on the other guys who pitted. They decided to leave Vasser out and go for the 2-stop strategy. If it stays green, it'll backfire. If they get a yellow, it'll be a great call.
Officially breaks the reason for P.J. Jones out of the race. His teammate Alex Barron, one of 2 drivers who did not qualify for this race. Andre Ribeiro from Penske Racing was the other. We ride with Michael Andretti, who runs 4th.
Oh, Michael goes around it. He has spun it. He tried to get on the power too hard. That'll just be an oil fire. Some oil line is broken back there. They'll get to that quickly. That is not a fuel fire.
Oh, Michael has been so good on the starts and restarts. A characteristic of his driving, as you pointed out earlier, Danny. At that time, just a little too anxious.
It is so tricky down there because there's a dip there that you can't see. It goes down quite sharp. The car unloads, comes down. You're trying to put on the power, and he just got on it a little too hard.
Michael's hopes were so high this weekend. He came in 5th in points. And a good performance here really would have helped him, especially with points leader Adrian Fernandez out of the race, as well as the man ahead of him in points, Dario Franchitti, who also crashed out here at Nazareth. On Saturday, Michael Andretti, his grandfather Gigi, father Mario, and son Marco all were here at the racetrack. 4 generations of Andretti, and there you see the spin. A heavy hit down to Jan Bikas.
Well, here's Michael just walking to the medical center. What happened, Mike?
I just stood on and lit him up. I guess it was just the cold tires. Caught me.
Was the car slippery before with these temperatures, or is this kind of really caught you by surprise?
Caught me by surprise, really, because the car was excellent before that.
Everything going well. Track conditions other than that?
Perfect.
Sorry, Michael, I know it's tough. What can you do? I mean, were you weaving back and forth everything you normally would do to warm the tires?
Yeah, but that doesn't really do anything, you know, and I guess I just stood on it a little too hard.
Thanks, Mike.
And so Michael Andretti's day is done. Let's go back to another replay.
Michael had quite a gap between him and the car in front of him. I'm not so sure he wasn't trying to get a good run off of that corner. See the gap right there?
Whoa, the car's going by at speed. That was close.
More than likely, that fire, you see that the wing come off, that's all mounted on the gearbox back there. Probably just broke the back of the gearbox, dumped the oil out of the transmission right there, caught fire on the hot gearbox.
Saw the spray of oil on the trackside camera. It gives you an idea of the acceleration of these 900+ horsepower cars from yellow flag speed. All they did was get on the gas, the tires broke loose, and that is a big hit.
Any hit on an oval is a big hit.
And that gives you another good reason why we do not race on a wet track on the ovals. It's Monday here at Nazareth. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Nazareth. There is Michael Andretti's car being carried back to the pits. Let's take another look at his spin and crash on lap 123 and listen to the sound.
Coming down the back straightaway now. He's going to go into turn 3 just in head. Let's listen to it. Oh, he's upset there. Here's the overhead. Michael's going to turn down in there. It's a little bit on the curbing there. Stands and spins. Now watch the cars come right through here. And did you see the green and white car of Paul Tracy on the grass?
Close moment. Down to Gary Gerald.
Quick update on Brian Herta. They're gambling. They did not come in. They've got one stop to go. They want to get another 20 laps in. That'll get them inside 70. They'll be able to go the distance from that point. Jan?
And Gary, for Jimmy Vasser, they want 18 more laps before they come in. So a very similar situation for those guys who did not pit on the last stop. Bob?
All right, thanks, guys. We are ready to go green. Flagman Jim Swintal waves, and we are underway once again. Lap 134 of 225. Brian Herta leads away. It is Herta, Vasser, Gordon, Alex Zanardi, who got by Gilles DeFerrin, Greg Moore, Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan, Mauricio Gugelmin, and Bobby Rahal. Vasser running in his best position ever on the track here at Nazareth. Argentine Ganassi Racing getting their short track act together. Back-to-back championships, hoping to make it 3 in a row this year. Word from the pits is Patrick Carpentier will be called back to the pits for a drive-through for excessive pit speed. Gilles DeFerrin with Paul Tracy just behind, 5th and 6th. Tracy, the defending champion here at Nazareth. He has struggled in the early races with his new team, Team Green. His teammate Dario Franchitti finished third 3 weeks ago at Long Beach. That was the best performance for one of Barry Green's cars since Jacques Villeneuve won the Indy 500 back in '95. Stretching the advantage on the backstretch. There's Carpentier coming back out after his drive-through. Barron and Tracy. Once again, everybody running very consistent laps. They'll check their speeds at the line. Fastest that time around, 171.2, just edging Jimmy Vasser for the fastest lap. Brian Herta, third fastest. There's Moore. And this time around, third fastest behind Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta. Behind them, Zanardi, DeFerrin. Excuse me, ahead of them are Alex Zanardi and Gilles DeFerrin. We're closing up.
That's part of the problem. You can close up around here, but if a guy's running just a little bit slower than you, very difficult to get by.
There's the running order at the bottom of the screen. Jan Bikas.
In regards to Robbie Gordon, another car that did not stop, the Toyota is getting a little better fuel economy. They think that they can go 20 laps from this point, so that's a bit farther than both Vasser and Herta.
There's a look at Robbie Gordon's progress through the field, up to third place. Drivers to crash out of this race. We asked to speak to him, but he is in the CART Medical Center getting a cold compress on a bump. Hopefully we'll catch up with him a little bit later on. He's okay, just getting a little bit of ice on one of the battle scars that happened on the bull rings. We'll be back. Brian Herta leads at Nazareth. Stand by for more. Welcome back to Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Brian Herta in the lead, as he was 3 weeks ago at Long Beach, California, before he was run down by Alex Zanardi of Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Right now in Brian Herta's mirrors, Zanardi's teammate, the '96 FedEx Series champion, Jimmy Vasser. And those two are pulling away slightly. About a half a second separates them, but then it's 3.5 seconds back to the third place car of Robbie Gordon.
I should point out that they did not stop, so they're a little out of step with some of the rest of the field, and they have a light fuel load. They have to make a stop pretty soon compared to the other ones that still have 50, 60 laps to go before they have to make a fuel stop. These guys right here are hoping for another yellow.
We saw Vasser with 2 of the 3 fastest laps turned thus far. No doubt what you just explained contributed to it, Danny. Let's update our stories. The green racetrack has contributed to some 8 incidents, a bunch of spins. Traffic always a problem here today. Tire durability, no tire problems that we're aware of, other than the grip problem that comes with a green racetrack. Without that rubber-to-rubber contact, no rubber on the racetrack makes it tougher on the tires.
I'd also like to point out it's not just a green racetrack. I think there's probably enough rubber down. We have cold temperatures. The air is cold, even though they've got about a 75-degree track temperature. That puts a lot of pressure on these guys to squeeze on the power in the restart and get those tires up to temperature. And we've seen all the incidents early on.
Traffic ahead now for race leader Brian Herta. That's Al Unser Jr. just ahead in the '97 Penske Mercedes. And now he puts Unser between himself and Jimmy Vasser, but here comes Vasser underneath Unser. Al Unser Jr. running 15th, 2 laps down. Max Pappas of the MCI RC Earl Wells Toyota ahead of the race leader. Looking at the pit stops now. Since they last stopped, Herta, Vassar, and Gordon are all inside their fuel window that can make this stop and stay on schedule. Vassar closing up. Pappas has been in and out of the pits.
Well, now I wonder if there's some team orders going on there, because Robbie Gordon is in third spot. Max Pappas is his teammate. These two have stretched out a little bit on Robbie. Maybe he said, hey, Max, don't let these guys by. Let Robbie close up.
Vassar down the inside of Herta and takes the race lead. And now Herta becomes the hunter and Vassar the hunted. Actually, Max Pappas has now drawn away slightly when the two race leaders began dicing among themselves.
Look at this. Brian Herta has really dropped back from Jimmy Vassar. He didn't just get past. He's dropped back tremendously. And it looks like Robbie Gordon is closing on him. Gordon goes around Unser and tries to get into the battle, catching Brian Herta. So the race leader, Vassar, a Reynard with Honda power and Firestone tires. Brian Herta, a Reynard Ford on Firestones, and then Robbie Gordon with a Reynard Toyota and Firestone tires.
A lot of huddle discussions right now in the Brian Herta camp. They were getting down to within about 10 laps when they were going to have to make a pit stop. Now that they've surrendered the lead, I'm waiting to see how that impacts their decision. The next 4 or 5, we may see Herta in here. John?
Well, it'll be about 10 laps for Jimmy Vassar. 9 as he just went by there. He'll be on pit road as well. So he will be in a little bit after Herta, but before possibly Gordon. But Gordon may be on his way in.
Gordon is, in fact, in the pit lane. The Arciero Wells team goes to work.
And Bobby's told him he wants a half a turn of front wing.
Robbie has taken a pole here at Nazareth. He knows how to go quickly around this 9/10 of a mile oval. 13.4 seconds in the pits for Robbie Gordon.
You saw him holding him there. They wanted to make sure they got all the fuel in so that he was topped up.
Now he comes back up to speed. He'll glide onto the racing surface on the backside. Toyota gaining ground in the horsepower sweepstakes with every race that goes by. Still have a little ground to make up on Ford, Honda, and Mercedes. But they are getting there. Tony Kanaan with the bright yellow nose on the Tasman Motorsports Group Reynard Honda, just behind Robbie Gordon. Brian Herta pits.
They wanted the yellow. They didn't get it. So now it comes under green flag conditions. Full complement of fuel. 13.1 on my watch for her to stop.
So slightly quicker than Robbie Gordon's stop. Brian Herta now has a full load of fuel and a new set of Firestones.
Remember, the fuel stops get longer toward the end because those are gravity-fed tanks, and there's less fuel in them, so it takes a little longer if the last stop to get all that fuel out and in the car.
Jimmy Vassar going around Max Pappas. Vassar leading for the second time this year. He led 44 laps at the Budweiser 500 at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. In the race lead, he'll be ticking off laps and $25 donations from Target Team Ganassi Racing to St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis. And now the race leader heads for the pit lane. Vassar is in on lap 164.
Now what Robbie, Jimmy, and Brian Herta all have to hope for is that these other drivers on the team have to pit under green as well, because that'll be the equalizing factor. If they catch a yellow, these guys are going to lose a lot of ground.
Guys, it sounds like he's having a little bit of a tough time keeping the engine running. Remember, he's had some trouble stalling this car. Jimmy Vassar, 13.3 for Vassar. That's a pretty quick stop, but because it's under green, they're worried they're going to lose a whole bunch on the racetrack.
Boy, did you see the way that car went into gear, Danny, with a huge thump? Because he had the revs up so high, holding it on the clutch.
He stalled it once. He didn't want to stall it again.
So Vassar makes his way back out, and his teammate Alex Zanardi has moved into the lead. The winner at Long Beach with a brilliant drive 3 weeks ago. Zanardi is back out front. He has never finished higher than 11th here at Nazareth. But he said, if I win, automatically it becomes my favorite racetrack. Tom Anderson looks on from the Ganassi pits. We'll be back with more from Nazareth. Nazareth, Pennsylvania, watching the battle for second place on lap 169 of 225. Gilles de Ferran leading Greg Moore. Alex Zanardi is the race leader. Then de Ferran and Moore, Paul Tracy fourth, Mauricio Gugelmin up to fifth, Tony Kanaan, the highest running rookie, in sixth, Bobby Rahal is seventh, Christian Fittipaldi eighth after he fell back to 22nd early in the race with an off and on in the grass. Richie Hearn is ninth. Jimmy Vasser, who just made a green flag pit stop from the race lead, is in 10th place, followed by Brian Herta, who also pitted under green. Robbie Gordon, who did the same, is 12th, followed by Michel Jourdain Jr., J.J. Leto, Patrick Carpentier, our pole sitter. Al Unser Jr. is 16th. Max Pappas is 17th. Alex Zanardi in the lead for the third time this year in the 4 races run to date. He led 12 laps at Homestead on the oval and 2 at Long Beach, but of course they were the most important 2, next to last and last. There's Mauricio Gugelmin. His teammate Mark Blundell crashed out of this race. The Pac-West team using the 98, Reynard Mercedes combination. Earlier this year, Mercedes and Ilmor, who designs and builds the engines for the Mercedes mark in this series, switched to Magneti Marelli electronics, but the system was not quite ready for the season opener, so they went back to last year's electronics from Delco. One car in the field, however, is running the full Magneti Marelli Mercedes combination this weekend. That is J.J. Leto for Hogan Racing, running 14th right now.
The Pac-West group did make a very tough decision there about going back to what they knew, the 97 car, trying to score a bunch of points. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them the way they hoped.
Up to our race leader, Alex Zanardi.
And Bob, his situation for the pits is that if they catch a yellow flag now, he will come onto pit road for service. But they can go quite a long way because they pitted out of sequence, or at least on the sequence that many guys did. So they have a long way to go before they would be forced to come onto pit road.
J.J. Leto.
At the entrance to the pits, that's right there, in Helio Castroneva's pit, right here. See the entrance to the pits.
That's an empty pit since Castroneves has crashed out of the race. Richie Hearn's pit would be the next in line, then Al Unser Jr.'s.
Now, though,
let's take another look at what happened from the Honda Helicam.
He's coming into the pits. This is down a little bit. He's coming up. You can't tell what happens. Oh, he just misses that inside wall with his nose.
Interesting place to spin. Now the battle for second. Gilles de Ferran in the blue and white car leading the sky blue machine, Carolina blue if you like. But Greg Moore, who got very close. Paul Tracy, the green and white car behind, is also in that fight. So second, third, and fourth running nose to tail. Tracy, the defending champion, trying to move up. Tracy was very quick in testing in cold weather here at Nazareth. Had a little trouble finding the handle this weekend. But in race conditions, Paul Tracy is moving up. Greg Moore
is very quick off the turns 3 and 4. You saw him try to come up alongside Gilles de Ferran going into turn 1. Gilles was not having any of that. Look at him. You'll see him look at as he moves up very quickly off of 3 and 4. It's just not enough.
We need the precision of a surgeon and the nerves of a burglar around here, trying to find a place to pass. Ooh,
oh,
traffic.
Traffic.
Oh, that was Leto back on the racetrack. De Ferran had to check up slightly, and Moore closed right to his gearbox.
It appears, though, that Greg Moore, when he gets right behind Gilles de Ferran, he loses the front end a little bit. He gets up there, can't stay right behind him. He's going to try it around the outside, a little bit wider line. That usually means that he doesn't have the aerodynamic balance perfect. He gets in there, gets a little of the wind over the front, taken away from the back end of Gilles de Ferran's car, and washes the front of his out.
That's an interesting development for Greg Moore. They have told him if your oil light comes on, ignore it. It's wrong. They can tell from the telemetry he has oil pressure, but his dash is telling him that that's not the case. So he's having to ignore something. Normally, you'd come right into pit road.
Look from our Honda Helicam overhead. So once again, closes up.
Gilles is very quick in turn 2. He seems to pull it out on Greg Moore there.
A good crowd for a Monday race here at Nazareth. I would guess about 25,000 on hand. We'll take a break and return for more from Nazareth. Back in Nazareth, Bob Varsha, Danny Sullivan with you. Gary Gerald and Jan Bikas in the pit lane as round 4 of the FedEx Championship Series unfolds here at Nazareth Speedway, the Bull Ring, in the Lehigh Valley of eastern Pennsylvania.
He's going to get a run.
Traffic on the left, on the right, Greg Moore. Oh, has a look underneath. De Ferran gets the spot back. They're battling over second.
And Paul Tracy's right there behind him in that green and white car, the dual car, trying to take advantage of this battle.
That's Michel Jourdain just ahead, driving for Peyton Coyne in a Reynard Ford. There's Jourdain in the green car at the bottom of your picture. Paul Tracy heads for a green flag pit stop from 4th place.
Look at this.
Oh, Moore
dove underneath him. Looked like Gilles de Ferran had a little trouble in that corner.
You saw him pick up the gear again. Downshifting.
Hey guys, Paul Tracy just had a bit of a miscue here. He had a problem with the fuel. Paul Tracy just lost a bunch of time here on pit road during his fuel stop. They couldn't get the fuel hose released or the vent nozzle.
12.8 seconds for that pit stop. Here comes Gilles de Ferran.
Derek Walker just hit L2, lap 2, and Gilles came in.
What do you want to do with the front wing? You leave it as is or take it out? But leave it. Okay. Tires, and in we go.
There's Derek Walker.
Switch off. Switch off. Okay, fuelers, get ready. Come on, off you come. Go, 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 go.
Derek Walker once called the shots for Danny Sullivan en route to Victory Lane here at Nazareth, and you can hear the cool calmness of his voice.
But did you hear what he said? Fuelers off. What they did was a time stop. He doesn't need a full tank of fuel, so they calculated how much they needed to put in to get him to the end, and that's why they timed it, said, okay, fuel's off, and he did a 9.8-second stop.
Danny, that's the advantage of going as long as they possibly could. But keep in mind what happened to Scott Pruitt in the last event at Long Beach. They went for a time stop. They came up 1 lap short. Pruitt went from 4th to 12th at the finish.
Race leader Alex Zanardi is pitting. Bobby Rahal pits from 7th at the same time. Mauricio Gugelmin is also in from 3rd place. This taking place on lap 192.
And guys, there was a bit of a miscue also with Zanardi. They got the fuel hose disconnected, but they had trouble. The vent man had a very difficult time getting the vent off the top. It was a very scary moment. He came within inches if he didn't rub against the vent man. 9.1 seconds for Zanardi, but it could have been faster.
Well, we're seeing a lot of that in the pits today. Trouble getting out of the way of the race cars in the pits.
That could be what Tom Anderson was talking about yesterday, was focus, focus, stay in focus.
Christian Fittipaldi is in and out of the pits on lap 194. And there you see Greg Moore pitting from the race lead.
And guys, that was a little bit faster. That was under 10 seconds for Greg Moore. They did not have a miscue, but it was so similar to Zanardi, I'm not sure if he'll make up the distance.
So once again, pit stops will jumble our running order. Greg Moore comes back on the track. Richie Hearn had inherited the lead, but Hearn has now made his final pit stop. Here is Hearn coming back out.
Cold tires, Richie. Cold tires.
Well, bet bet that news has crackled over the radios more than once today. Watch the cold tires, Richie. And so Jimmy Vasser moves to the top of the list. Vasser should be okay the rest of the way. Working lap number 197 of 225. The order is Vasser, Zanardi, Moore, Gugelmin, Robbie Gordon. There is the gap back to Zanardi in second. There is Moore in third. Canan is a lap down. We're looking for right there Mauricio Gugelmin in fourth place. A good distance back behind Greg Moore. So we'll take a quick break and return as the laps continue to tick away at Nazareth. Back at Nazareth, Mauricio Gugelmin on the right runs fourth at the Nazareth 225, round 4 of the FedEx Championship Series for 1998. The points leader, Adrian Fernandez, crashed out in the first few laps, and so the door is open for those behind him to move up in the run for the PPG Cup and a $1 million bonus at season end. Jimmy Vasser is the race leader. His teammate, Alex Zanardi, right there is in second place. Keep in mind, Zanardi's best finish here at Nazareth is 11th. That man, Jimmy Vasser, the race leader's best finish is 5th. And here are the Ganassi teammates running first and second.
And Bob, down in the pits, these guys are actually, the Target Nasty guys are surprised. They obviously wanted to come here and try and take away some points, but seeing the fact they're running 1-2, they just never thought in a million years that they'd be able to come up with a setup on a 1-mile oval and come and be this competitive. So they are absolutely besides themselves that they have found finally the setup they want for a 1-mile oval.
Jan, Bob and I had the pleasure of having dinner with Jimmy and Alex the other night, and they actually told us that they had a very good setup, which had surprised them. Jimmy had come here and tested after Long Beach and really got a very good setup that he and Alex were pleased with.
Not since the New Hampshire race at Loudon back in 1995 has Honda won on a short oval. This one is far from over, but right now you see Jimmy Vasser, the red car, closing up on the last cars on the lead lap. Bobby Rahal running 9th, and Brian Herta, Rahal's teammate, running 8th. Honda picked up their first victory of the season after a couple of Ford wins at Long Beach 3 weeks ago, and right now they are looking good.
This traffic situation, though, with Jimmy being held behind Bobby and Brian, is allowing the other guys like Alex Zanardi to close that gap to him. You see at the top of your screen right there, the other red car, Alex Zanardi right there. Sorry, trying to be quick. Going out of the screen, look at him. Now they're nose to tail.
And now what do you do, Chip Ganassi, watching your boys run nose to tail on a bull ring? There's Tom Anderson, team manager. Bobby Rahal picked up his last victory in the series on this racetrack back in 1992. Right now he runs on the gearbox of his teammate Brian Herta, with the race leader coming up behind.
And speaking of Zanardi, don't forget that he has those fresh tires. Remember what he did with fresh tires at Long Beach? He's going to have a car with a better tires and perfect amount of fuel than his teammates.
Now lots of traffic as you ride with Bobby Rahal just behind Max Pappas. Now the race leaders have gotten around Brian Herta. Rahal passed Herta to put himself up into the 8th spot, and Herta has now been put a lap down by the race leader, Jimmy Vasser. 18 laps to go next time by. Here comes Vasser under Pappas. And the gap is closing from first to third as Greg Moore. There you see Moore right behind Alex Zanardi. Oh, we have a crash in 4. That's Mauricio Gugelmin, who was 4th. A heavy contact with the wall. And both Pac West teammates have crashed out at Nazareth. So another team has trouble with both of their cars. Patrick Racing, a crash for Adrian Fernandez and a fire for Scott Pruitt. They are gone. And now the Pac West teammates. Mark Blundell has crashed out, as has his teammate Mauricio Gugelmin.
And probably for Jimmy Vasser, that came at a very key time, because the pace car will obviously pick them up, get in front of him, and he'll have a green track, a clean track in front of him at the restart. Very tough, though, for the Pac West team, who now has to get their cars ready in time to be loaded on Friday and Saturday to go down to Brazil.
Quick look at Chip Ganassi in the sunglasses, watching as his team runs 1-2. So the kart safety team at work with Mauricio Gugelmin. 2 championships in a row for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. The last and only back-to-back-to-back championships in this series were taken by Penske Racing in 1981, 82, and 83 by Rick Mears, and Al Unser Sr. The Ganassi team could do that this year. On board with Bobby Rahal, now in the 7th position after Gugelmin's crash.
And right when that crash occurred, Patrick Carpentier's woes continued. He had to do a drive-through for running over a hose. So again, that dropped him in a little further back, and it was unfortunate timing.
And that breaks a long string of good luck for Carpentier at this racetrack. He won here in successive years, driving in the cool Toyota Atlantic Championship, which is now a part of the kart family. Kart completed the purchase of the Toyota Atlantic Series within the last couple of weeks. Passing the accident scene. 210 laps coming around to complete 211. 14 laps remaining in the race. As you ride with Richie Hearn. Don't forget, coming up Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, it's NASCAR's Night in Hollywood, a golden celebration of NASCAR's first 50 years. Many current and former NASCAR stars will be honored with tributes such as Lifetime Achievement, a Founders Tribute, Pioneers, NASCAR Ironman, Lifetime Media Tribute, and NASCAR Future Legends, as well as Drivers of the Decade for the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday on ESPN. We'll take a break and return. Now 13 laps remaining as they cross the start-finish stripe at Nazareth. We'll have more from the Nazareth 225. Stay with us. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Kart Nazareth 200 is being brought to you by Firestone, America's tires since 1900. And by FedEx. Now FedEx delivers on Sunday because the world works 7 days a week. Back at Nazareth Speedway after the cleanup for a heavy accident by Mauricio Gugelmin, we will have a 5-lap shootout for victory. Jimmy Vasser, Alex Zanardi, the 2 Target teammates, first and second, followed by Greg Moore, Gilles de Ferran, Paul Tracy, Robbie Gordon, 6th, the highest position for a Toyota. Their best ever performances in the FedEx Championship Series, 8th place twice, once at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin in 1996, and the US 500 at Michigan last season. Race leader Jimmy Vasser off turn 4, the scene of Gugelmin's accident.
He wanted as much ground as he possibly could. He wants to just stretch it out for 5 laps.
Not easy to do in these cold temperatures. We've seen plenty of crashes as drivers got onto the throttle too early. Four laps to go when Jimmy Vasser crosses the stripe. And Vasser pulling away from Alex Zanardi, his teammate. There is Zanardi coming around Brian Herta, who has shown 8th and a lap down. 1-2 for Ganassi. With 3 laps to go next time across. Here they come. There is Greg Moore, who was closing up steadily on the 2 cars ahead of him before the yellow came out. 3 laps to go. Less than 3 miles remaining. Moore with Herta ahead of him. He'll have to get around him if he's going to deal with Zanardi before the race concludes. 2 laps to go now for Vasser. This man looking for his 6th career win. And right now he is unchallenged. 5 laps, a great distance for Vasser because he's not going to catch the tail of the field before he gets around to the finish. It is clean and green for Vasser. There's Al Unser Jr. up ahead.
But Al will be very professional here and stay out of his way. He's been in that position before.
The checkered flag is in the flagman's hands, and a fist is in the air from Jimmy Vasser as he takes the checkers in first. Alex Zanardi in second. Greg Moore in third. And here comes Gilles de Ferran with the white-nosed Reynard in 4th place. Unofficially 5th is Paul Tracy, and there is Robbie Gordon, 7th at the flag, a new high for a Toyota-powered car in the FedEx Championship Series. What a moment for Jimmy Vasser. The 2nd victory in a row for the team. There's Long Beach winner Alex Zanardi alongside. Now remember, at Laguna Seca last year, where Zanardi clinched his championship and Vasser picked up his first victory of the year, they pulled alongside to give each other a thumbs up. They weren't colliding with one another. And Vasser had to be carried to victory lane to accept the laurels in the back of a safety truck. 3rd victory of the year for Firestone Tires, and Vasser's 3rd win on an oval. 96 Homestead race and the US 500, in that his championship year, his previous wins on the round tracks. And $5,000 to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital from Target Team Ganassi Racing, up around the $10,000 mark this year. There is his fueler wearing the helmet colors of Ganassi. Their first 1-2 since the 1996 race at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Jimmy Vasser went the whole distance on 2 pit stops. Don't forget, the Indy Lights race here at Nazareth will be coming your way Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2. And so the celebrations have broken out in the pit lane. Here's a look at the unofficial results as Vasser tries to make the corner. Looks like he'll make it. Vasser, Zanardi, Moore, DeFerrin, Tracy, Rahal, Gordon, Herta, Kanan, and Richie Hearn in 10th. We'll be back.
I told you could do it.
Well, here they are, the dynamic duo. Who says these guys can't run the short tracks? Holy smokes. If there was an upset today in racing, I think this certainly qualifies. Zanardi and Vasser, and they end up teammates hugging each other here in a huge embrace. And Jimmy Vasser with the victory. He'll get him down here and get a word with him in just a half a second. Jimmy, how much of a surprise to you was this performance?
Well, I knew we had a great test here about 3 weeks ago, and we've been working really hard trying to get our 1-mile oval car ready, and we knew it was better, but we took a chance, you know, and luckily they had to stop under the green too, and my crew did a good job getting me in and out. And, you know, it's too bad for Mike there. Mike would have been tough, but we had a good race car today, and I'm not surprised we won.
It ends up with a 2-stop strategy for you, a 3-stop strategy for your teammate, and you're both here virtually at the same time. That, I think, would qualify as another surprise.
Yeah, I was questioning them staying out because we stayed out and they stopped, but then they ended up right behind us. So essentially, they had more fuel than us and they were right behind us. So, but it worked out for the better.
Well, where's Alex Zanardi? We're looking for him. We see Chip Ganassi over here. As you can expect, it's always bedlam, and we'll have to track him down as this celebration's going to go on for a little bit.
While we're looking for Zanardi, let's check in with Greg Moore. Greg, when you went to the front of the grid and your car didn't show up and you know you had to go to the backup car, Carpentier's car, did you think you would be here on the podium?
We knew we had a good shot, but, you know, the car ran beautifully all day. The guys did a great job, you know, with that last-minute thrash, trying to go put all of my parts onto Patrick's backup car. They did a really good job that way, you know. It's just unfortunate when you got a bunch of idiot backmarkers racing with you in the last 6 or 7 laps. You know, Brian let Alex by in the back straightaway, and he just, for some reason, wanted to keep me behind him. It would have been real exciting if all 3 of us could have been racing at the end, but, oh well.
Was it that difficult to pass? Was there only one groove there currently?
Yeah, it's the way the cars are. I couldn't believe how fast traffic was today. Normally the traffic is quite slow once you get on these 1-mile ovals, but you know, credit to the team because they did a great job today by getting this car ready, and you know, can't be too disappointed. We're still leaving here with the championship lead.
Thanks, Greg. Looks like we found Alex. Gary?
Yes, indeed. We have found Alex Zanardi. Now, we talked to Jimmy about the surprise. He questioned the 2-stop strategy. You were the 3-stop man, and yet it all works out.
Well, you can't plan this thing. I mean, yellow works sometimes for you, sometimes against you. But for me, second is like a win. And at the end, it felt like one of these Target commercials. You know, it was incredible. 1, 2. This is a great result for the team. I'm delighted for the boys that have worked so hard, and especially for myself.
They said this team couldn't run the short ovals. I think you've probed something different here.
Well, I tell you, my expectations this morning were not very high. And up to now, I have to punch myself to realize whether it's true or it's a dream.
All right, thank you. Jan?
Well, Robbie Gordon, an awesome performance for you. Toyota or not, is it the Toyota and power that's coming? Obviously, your driving skill was great today, but is this a handling track or a power track?
Well, this is a handling track. You know, first I gotta thank, you know, Hero for giving me the opportunity. You know, Panasonic, all of our sponsors, Toyota. You know, it's great to be back. We had a strong run. We were competitive. It's great to have my engineer Kenny Anderson back on the team. You know, it's Cal Wells. I told him I'd like to have Kenny. He went out and got Kenny. So you know, it's great. It's really nice to drive for a team as professional as this one. And you know, Toyota's making more and more gains, but we had the car handling right all day too.
All right, it's good to see you smiling.
Thanks,
Bob.
Thanks, guys. Here's a look at all the pertinent information on today's race. What a day for Ganassi Racing. A 1-2 finish and a victory for Firestone on the only track in the series on which they had not won. Tony Kanaan, highest finishing rookie. 3 top 10s for Kanaan this year. He will retain the lead in the Rookie of the Year standings. A typical day at the Bull Ring with plenty of spins and crashes. Incidentally, the Pac West teammates Mark Blundell and Mauricio Gugelmin are being taken to a local hospital for x-rays and CAT scans to make sure they're okay. There are the manufacturer's standings. And in the Drivers' Championship, Greg Moore out front by 1 point over Alex Zanardi. The 98 Toyota Pro Celebrity Race from Long Beach, California will be coming up next year on ESPN. Congratulations to Target Chip Ganassi Racing. I'm Bob Varsha. For Danny Sullivan, Jan Beekes, and Gary Gerald, thanks for being with us. So long from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.